Hi, I'm Rod Singh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Loopteam. We are building a virtual office to make distributed teams feel more connected. We take the best parts, the parts that you really enjoyed when you were physically in an office, and we bring them into a virtual setting. The origins of Loopteam really started with my previous life. I had a partially distributed company. We had a headquarters based here in the Bay Area. We had full-time remotes across the US. After we were acquired, I would check in with some of my remote team. After I'd left, I would check in with some of my remote team periodically to see how things were going. And one of the things that I consistently heard was they felt out of the loop. They would have to fly to the mothership, one of Salesforce office headquarters, they're the company that had acquired us, to check in, maybe 1 week every month or 1 week every 2 months or whatever it was, but some regular sort of cadence. And so I really started thinking about that. Why were they feeling out of the loop? Fast forward to today, and in the last 6 months, we've seen basically 10 years of remote work growth happen in such a short amount of period. It's amazing to watch the acceleration of this trend. But with this has come a number of new sort of problems. For example, Microsoft research, sort of in collaboration, has shown that maybe innovation is down. Although productivity might be up, people are maybe working longer hours, people have a little bit more flex, and so they feel that they need to maybe put in more time in the mornings, or they're saving that sort of commute time, or whatever it might be. Innovation might be down because people maybe are having less conversations or less hallway chat or less background discussion, just simply less serendipity. Two, Zoom fatigue is real. People are talking about Zoom fatigue, but it's a real thing. And a lot of that is driven because much of these hallway chats, these background conversations, these interruptions, these ping pong room, casual chat, whatever it is, are being scheduled. They're turning into a series of 30-minute meetings across your calendar. And all of that time that you spend between each of those meetings is just anxiety of when is my next event? When is my next meeting? Creating this sort of constant running 10% process in your brain, this sort of fatigue, so to speak. Obviously not the best way to replicate it. Other things that we've seen, and we have a lot more data now showing this sort of stuff, is casual communication is down. This makes a ton of sense. There's just simply not enough breadth of communication. People are communicating with their core teams, but everything is more formalized. Zoom's a very formal tool. Meetings in its construct is a very formal thing. Loneliness is up. Certainly COVID is probably contributing to some of that as well. Just the fact that we have to work at home. We can't go and work from a coffee shop or whatever it might be. But also you just don't see the activity. If you remember the times when you were in an office not too long ago, but you'd walk in, you would see a lot of visual communication. Who's around? How are people feeling? Maybe they're wearing their favorite sports team hat that day because it's their team that just won yesterday. Or maybe they're in deep focus because they have their headphones on and not a great time to interrupt. But sometimes, but maybe right before lunch when they get up, great time to sort of, let's go have a quick chat or whatever it might be. All of that sort of visual communication is not there. So casual communication down, people feeling lonely, innovation down, and so forth. The fundamental issue is we are working remotely, but we're using the same tools that we were using when we were working in an office, and things have changed. And so this in large part, along with tons of customer interviews and some of my previous experience with my last company, made me realize and sort of formed the genesis for what became Loopteam, which was really an effort to try to recreate that sense of office in a virtual sort of setting, but not the parts that you don't like. Nobody wants to be intentionally interrupted, but the parts that you liked, that make it sort of feel like you're physically there. You can see who's around, you can quickly drop into people. We make communication as fast as simply clicking on somebody, which feels much more like it was when you were in an office, right next to each other, just a shoulder tap and so forth. As part of enabling this experience, Agora has obviously been a critical partner because real-time engagement is a critical thing. And the reason is, the one thing that we have found that has been consistent, irrespective of how you want to try to measure the connectedness of a team, it's communication. The more that a team communicates, the more connected they feel. And the more that you can drive communication at a breadth level across the organization, not just simply with the 3 or 4 people that you talk with every day, the more connected they feel. That's the piece that they had when they were physically in an office. And so a large part of what we try to do through a virtual office is to recreate that. And with Agora, we've been able to do that. We've made communications super fast. You can channel switch into different discussions instantaneously. We've integrated other things so you can see topics being discussed in real time, all sorts of those sorts of things. So I think going forward, we have a very exciting remote work future. Obviously, hybrid is probably the next big bucket that's coming, but some large chunk of teams and many new sort of organizations are being built as remote first. And these new challenges are real. We need to drive more serendipity. We need to drive more casual comms. We need to help reduce some of this sort of loneliness. And so with that, thank you. If you want to read more about remote work trends, feel free to ping me offline.